Hey, everybody, welcome to the Struggling Hunters, where we're working hard on bringing you our successes and our failures to help you and us become better hunters. I'm Eric, and
I'm Joe,
we are the
struggling hunters.
we figured it out.
Yeah, we did.
Anyways, guys, so tonight started off um, talking about turkey. Last week, Joe was kind of going into the regs of Utah and the draws, primary draws, and for elk and turkey, mostly focused on turkey. And so this week I put in for my turkey and did a few draws. What's kind of cool about Colorado is the draws were just kind of to gain points and for the draw, but in all honesty, I mean, there's a lot of areas that you can just do over the counter, at least in the springtime. You could do over the counter without having to do a lot of draw. But I did put in for some draws. So we'll see what happens whenever those come out. But I did that tonight, I guess. And um uh yeah, that was kind of fun. Got that out of the way. Excited for the big game primary draw coming up. That'll be coming up March 1st. Let me rewind real quick. So, if you live in Colorado and you want to put in for some draws on for the turkey tags for your spring turkey tags, you want to get that done before February 2nd. That's the deadline for turkey. And then last week I was trying to find some 2021 big game regs information for big game, and that was really smooth, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's very nice that you explained to us what it was you were trying to look up and really dial in and what specifically you were going for. I'm glad yeah, you didn't lose us.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so anyway, uh, the uh, the big game brochures are gonna be coming out in the middle of February. So everybody from Colorado or non-residents that want to hunt Colorado, make sure that you're looking out for those in the middle of February. And then I think I've already mentioned it, but the primary draw begins March 1st. And I can't remember when I think April 7th is whenever it ends. Can't remember that one off the top of my head. So that'll be for your big games. And uh, oh, Uh, the turkey season this year, for the most part, in most areas, check your regs because there is a few spots that opening day is a little bit later, like just a couple days. But um, I was trying to do this without looking, but I might have to just double check real quick. But anyways, everything starts April 10th, or opening day of turkey season starts April 10th, and then ends May 31st. So you almost get 2 months of turkey hunting, which is kind of cool. And yeah, so I just kind of wanted to clear that up because last week I was kind of all over the place. And I didn't really know what was going on with that's the problem with the primary draw. Like now I kind of have set in stone, or I kind of have it figured out. Pretty much primary draw always starts around March 1st, from what I understand. But uh, in the past, I've sat there, or like last year, for example, I was going to do primary draw. And long story short, with that is I totally missed it. I mean, I missed the deadline. I think the deadline was like 2 or 3 days before I looked it up because I was thinking, oh, I got plenty of time before I have to do the primary draw. And I got online and they're like, oh, you missed it by 3 days or whatever it was. And I was like, oh man. But then I went to the second chance, and I ended up not drawing for anything in second chance. And I kind of regret that now. But there was just everything that was in the second chance draw just was areas that I was not familiar with. And I didn't really have a plan or know if I was going to check those areas out.
So
Since
that, sorry, I don't mean to, I just been sitting there thinking that second chance draw, you don't have to, do you put, no, you said second chance. Is that second season?
No, it's just second chance. So you get your primary draw, and then
Oh, that's
if you miss your primary draw, if you miss your primary draw, you get a second chance to draw something that's left. Basically, it's kind of like leftover, but they're calling it a second chance.
gotcha. Okay, sorry.
And
I was just sitting there thinking of hunting season, and I was like, oh yeah, second season, third season, and I was like, that's what we're talking about here.
well, hey man, it's good that you clarify, because somebody else might have been thinking the same thing. So, um, but yeah, the second draw or second chance draw is last year. It wasn't, there was just nothing that I was too familiar with, but I've been studying the maps and studying the units a little better. My current job right now, I'm kind of fortunate in the sense that I'm kind of always out in the woods, I guess. And so I've been paying more attention to that stuff and figuring that out. So I have a few ideas of what I want to try to draw for this year. Um, I am gonna do the primary, but obviously, if I don't get the primary, then I'll do the second chance. And I guess the worst comes to worst. I'm not 100% sure about this. I should actually look it up, but I might actually get a couple extra points by trying to get on the second chance draw. So like if I do the primary and don't get nothing, I'll get my point.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if this, but I'm kind of curious. Maybe I'll look that up. I'll take some time and look this up and try to let you guys know next week. But I'm kind of thinking that if you don't get nothing on your primary and you draw for the second chance and still don't get nothing, you might actually be able to get 2 points out of that,
Oh,
which is kind of helpful. I mean,
yeah.
you might get, yeah, you might, even if you do draw for primary. Well, I guess it wouldn't make much sense if you drew on your primary and then you tried for a second chance. But I mean, I guess that goes across all species of animals though too. So I mean, if I got like a primary elk, for example, or in the primary I drew for an elk, but I didn't get nothing for deer, I could go over to the deer and try to get my second chance for a deer, or vice versa. But yeah, I'm more prepared this year. I've definitely been studying the units, uh, e scouting, and doing a little bit of actual scouting. So I'm a lot more prepared this year. So I'm excited to see what comes of it. I don't know how much what will come of it, but I'm excited to see what comes of it. And yeah, so that's kind of all I got for regs, really.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks
Oh,
for your participation.
no problem.
Uh, so Eric was saying that we talked last week a little bit about Utah's big game draw and regulations, and I was doing some more reading in Utah's handy dandy. We got here the big game application guidebook for 2021, and as I was reading, got to page 23, and it started talking about this late season limited entry muzzleloader deer hunts, and then it's kind of on this page 23. Well, sorry, I'm before myself. I need to halfway through page 23. It talks about this handgun, archery, muzzleloader, shotgun. And there's two different things. There's one for deer and then there's one for elk, and they're both called a handgun, archery, muzzleloader, shotgun, and then the elk is a limited entry area. So I guess the deer is more of a general season thing. But I thought it was kind of interesting. What kind of caught my eye was one is that it's a hunt for the deer is November 13th through the 28th, which is kind of a later season hunt. And that's going to be in the areas of the Book Cliffs, Floyd Canyon. And I should have looked up how to say this other one. I can't even say it, but it's, yeah, Portwitz Hams, and then Morgan and South Rich. So I guess I should, before I get any further, what they have done is what do they call it? Is it an acronym? Where you kind of where you spell out a word, but then there's words that go with the letters in that word.
Yeah.
So what they did is they called these hunts H.A.M.S. So H.A.M.S, which stands for handgun, archery, muzzleloader, shotgun. So these are, I guess they're calling these ham hunts. Not a pig hunt. But so the other interesting thing on both of them, so on the deer, it says note that these are primitive weapon hunts, and then no optics allowed. And then it gives you a code to go to look up to see what the specifications are. And I went and read it a little bit, and it talked about barrel length and barrel shortness, like what kind of like what designates the pistol to be able to work. And it did say no scope on the weapon, what you're using to hunt with. And then on the elk side of it, again, these are, I believe it's new for 2021, because it says for the 2021, the Utah Wildlife Board approved new handgun, archery, muzzleloader, shotgun only. So they're calling it H.A.M.S unit. And for elk, it's October 1st through November 15th. And then there's they're calling it there's these 7 limited entry elk units. Box Elder, Sawtooth, Cache North, 9 Mile, and Toro, Quarry, Stansbury, Plateau, Barney Top, Caporat, I can't even say that. Southwest Desert North, and then West Desert Deep Creek. And then again, these are primitive weapon hunts, no optics allowed. And it tells you the code to go in and look up to find what the regulations are for the weapons being used. And the interesting thing is that it has a little important note going along with it. So because the elk is a limited entry elk hunt, it still falls within the limited hunting rules. So it says, if you're successful in obtaining a permit, so if you get a permit to hunt for one of these areas, you will lose all your bonus points and incur a period of waiting for 5 years. So it's still, the way I read that is all the limited entry points you've been putting in for the elk get wiped out if you draw this tag, the permit. And then you got to wait 5 years till you can start putting in again for a limited entry elk hunt. So I don't know. So that's kind of I guess the long and short of it. It says there'll be more details when the field regulation guidebook comes out in June. But I thought, I don't know that really interests me. It might, later on in the years, I don't know how long. It doesn't say if it's going to be continued or not, but it doesn't say it's going away. But I don't know. I guess a little later season, and then get you somewhere to hunt. Maybe I'll look in to see where the the deer one is. I don't really want to burn my limited entry elk points on one of these hunts yet. I don't think.
Yeah, so that's all individual, right? Like if you draw that, you're drawing that specifically for a deer or specifically for an elk. You're not, I
Correct.
mean, you don't draw that and you can hunt all
No,
big
it's
games.
it is well, I guess game specific. So if you did draw a deer, it's only for deer.
Okay.
If you did draw an elk, it's only for elk.
I got another I got another question. The archery, since they call it archery and not specifically compound bow, or so is it just compound bow and long bow, or could
Yeah.
a crossbow get it in the mix there?
I don't I let me see if I can crossbow I think has to be I don't know if they're going to have the definition for crossbow in this book because of in years past crossbows have always been legal to hunt in a general season like a rifle only uh,
Really?
any legal weapon hunt for crossbows because it's a little more powerful than a bow.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think in Colorado they don't allow you to use crossbow at all. I mean, I think it's a very specialized hunt you can use crossbow. Um, or specialized situation, but I don't think that you can use crossbow at all in Colorado. I guess that's something else I need to look up. And but I mean, I don't worry about it because I don't have a crossbow, but I'll look it up to clarify in the podcast.
Right. Yeah, because in the years past, that's how I've read it. Is that you can use them, but you have to use it in the any legal weapon general hunts.
And during the rifle season, not
Right.
actual
Right. That's
archers.
that's the rifle season is any legal weapon hunt. The general art or the general deer tag, any legal. That's how it's worded. Any legal weapon.
It's kind of funny. I kind of got mixed. I don't know if they're mixed, but I think it'd be kind of fun to hunt with a crossbow personally. But
Yeah.
I kind of see why there's a lot of shame around it too at the same time. I get it, but I'm like, it'd be kind of cool. Like what's the difference at the end of the day anyway?
True.
I mean, besides more, like you said, more.
A little more power, a little more accurate than a bow. I
Yeah.
don't know what the I I think I don't know what the distance is for a crossbow. Like for an L or for a regular bow, like I feel like like 70 yards you're pushing it, and I think 100 yards you're really pushing. I know people take those shots. I haven't like quite got that confident at 100 yards, but I feel like I think that's where it starts getting a little bit more. Uh, it stays better for the crossbow. You can get out there a little further. I don't know what the distance for a crossbow is. I haven't looked into them. I don't know how well they do out, 100, 150 yards.
Yeah, I don't really know much. I mean, I don't have one. I don't know much information about them. I've thought how cool it would be to have one, but then I go, well, I couldn't use it for nothing, even if I did have one. So there's no point in really trying to get one. But I don't know. I mean, they're kind of they have their place, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
they have their place somewhere, and I would like to maybe one day own one just for fun, even if it's just recreational use.
Right.
Uh, I'd still like to have one just to mess around with, and but they're kind of expensive too. So just
True.
for recreational use, it
Well, I feel like they're pretty impressive nowadays with what they've designed them to do lately. Like, as you know, I've seen a couple new videos out, and I can't tell you off the top of my head any really brands or a lot of specs on them, but I remember being impressed with what the numbers they were putting out.
yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So hams, huh?
Yeah.
Handgun, archery, muzzleloader,
And shotgun.
shotgun.
Yeah, which is, it's kind of interesting. Like I said, I don't know. I might look at it more on the deer side of it.
Yeah, especially if you don't have to get penalized for 5 years.
Right.
That part, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess there's probably people out there that would really enjoy to just use their handgun, but because I mean, I guess that's or I guess my next question is that what kind of stood out to you the most was the handgun side of it?
Well, that's what kind of, I guess, not that I really wanted to hunt with a handgun, but what stood out to me was the handgun side of it because know, I've never really seen anything called out specifically for handgun hunting.
Yeah.
I think again it goes into, I don't know, I shouldn't say anything, but just because I don't know for sure, but being where the crossbow was under any legal firearm, I think, as long as you met the specifications, you could hunt handgun during the general deer season, any legal weapon. So I just never seen it called out where, like this hunt is specifically for, a handgun, muzzleloader, archery and shotgun, but you can't have optics on it. So that, which is still kind of interesting because muzzleloader nowadays, they get those things reaching out there to 200-300 yards. So like you're going to want an optic on that, but without an optic, I think you're closing. Well, my brain is just going down rabbit holes as I'm sitting here talking because I think muzzleloader open sights. I'm thinking I'm taking a shot at like 100 yards, maybe 150 yards. But then I go, man, like they've been hunting with open sights for a long time, and they've been taking, like back in the war days before scopes were really all that great, they're taking long shots with open sights. But then it goes into that whole ethics side of it all, what do I really want to be taking a 200-yard, 300-yard shot with open sights? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some little tricks and stuff, but I shouldn't say for sure. I'm sure I would, if I was going to be doing that, I'd be trying to understand a little bit more about longer range shooting with the open sights. I'm sure then it gets into like peep sights. I think a peep sight you might be, a little bit more accurate out there, a little bit further. Anyway, like I said, my mind just started going down all these rabbit holes of like of things with that open sight comment, but
Yeah, well, it kind of sounds like the intention of allowing that hunt is more all of it is more closer range hunting, probably within 100 yards. I mean, you might be able to stretch out 120, but a pistol, I mean, I don't know. Sure,
well,
there's somebody out there that say that they could touch something at 200 yards with their pistol, but mostly I'm thinking like 50 yards.
right,
50 yards is probably even a stretch for most pistols.
right, yeah, because like then you got to go into your whole barrel length, and so if you throw your barrel length in there, like that's gonna, the longer the barrel, kind of the longer the shot you could take. So a pistol with that shorter barrel, it's not going to carry its ballistic coefficient forever, so it's going to drop awfully quick within the first 60 to 80 yards, I'm sure, pushing
Uh,
100 yards. But
yeah, it's interesting.
I thought the other interesting thing too is shotgun. I guess you're using a slug because I don't know unless you would you use
Yeah,
buckshot,
buckshot. Yeah,
but I guess I have to go in and read on that. I'm
I don't
sure.
know how far buckshot goes. I mean, I've never really used the buckshot or target practice with buckshot, but I don't think in I don't think they reach out all that far.
Right.
Probably between that 50 and 100 yard range is where they're probably most effective. 100 yards might even be a little far, but I'm just speculating because I really don't know. So
Right. Well, that's like like the whole new thing for me is I'm sure the boys back east they're using shotguns to hunt every year. They're like, oh yeah, this is what we do. No big deal. And I'm over here out in the west scratching my head. All right, how do I hunt with a shotgun?
yeah, yeah,
Especially, I mean, it's one thing hunting birds with a shotgun, but hunting big game with a shotgun, it's a little different.
yeah, yeah. I don't know if that really. Oh, I was gonna ask you, is that non-resident and resident, or is that just specifically for resident?
It didn't say either or. I think it's uh let's see if I can look up some information on that real quick while we're sitting here talking. But what I read on it it nothing was ever called out resident or non-resident.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure though that hunt. I'm sure there's somebody out there that really likes the idea of it.
Right.
I don't know if it doesn't really speak to me very much.
And the only reason, like I said, what caught my eye was a handgun and shotgun and stuff. But the only reason I'd be even interested in it is this is the first year that it's ever done it. So like that beginner's luck thing kind of kicks in, and
Yeah.
like, oh, maybe I will be successful at that.
I can't think of any specific stories, but I feel like I've heard of people using shotguns to kill deer in the past. I don't know if that's so unique.
Well, like I know that back east in the Midwest and stuff that they got to hunt shotgun only because of density with people and stuff too.
Mm,
So they don't want a gun, going through or a bullet going that far through the woods. So it's shotgun only. But I don't know. I can't say if it's like it has to be a shot, like buckshot, or um, if it can be a slug. But then you get into you know you kind of funny like so a shotgun isn't going to have. I think a shotgun's not going to have riflings.
right.
So like you can use a slug, but then without the riflings, it's not you're not even going to get that long of a shot either. So, anyways, I'm starting to go partly down these rabbit holes and just starting to throw stuff out there as I'm puking, as I'm thinking about it and puking stuff up as I
Yeah.
comprehend what I'm reading here without reading more. But I'm sure there's non-residents in there, but not what I see right now doesn't really call out resident or non-resident.
I wonder if that hunt requires hunter's orange.
That's true. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm sure with the next book coming out, the field regulations, it'll call out a little bit more.
Yeah.
Well, I don't honestly. So here, what I do know is you can hunt muzzleloader and archery without hunter's orange. So with this one, I don't see why they would call out you using hunter's orange.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking was because it kind of sounds like it's geared toward that shorter range
Right.
kind of hunt. So, and your other shorter range hunts don't require hunter's orange. So that one probably does. I don't know. We'll have to look up, we'll have to kind of keep an eye on it and try to find more information. I'm,
Yeah. No, about we'll definitely maybe come back to that if we ever gain information on that one.
yeah, but it was interesting though. That was a nice find, Joe.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. Um, well, with that, do you have anything else that you wanted
No,
to talk about?
no.
Okay, well, with that, I guess that's kind of more of our informative portion of the podcast. Uh, you know, Joe and I we're trying new things all the time, trying to make the podcast better, and with that said, like now in this part of the podcast, it's going to be kind of more free form, just kind of whatever hits the dome to talk about for a little while. With that said, this was kind of thought of before the podcast started, but Joe, I'll ask you the question first, I guess. Um, how do you how do you feel about poaching? I mean, I'm just gonna go out and say it. I feel weird because I mean I have my thoughts or whatever, but it's kind of a weird subject or a taboo subject a little bit. But like I just how do you feel about poaching in general? I mean, I kind of know how you feel, but I don't know how to phrase the question, I guess.
Well, like with poaching, I feel like it's one of those things that almost, like it legally takes away my rights or stiffens my rights to hunt. That there's a little bit more scrutiny. A lot of people hate people that don't follow the rules, and then when people don't follow the rules, they make the rules even stricter, and so it makes it harder for the image of the hunter to go untainted when there's a lot of people, or when there's people that poach because it's not legally, it's not done, it's not, I'm probably not coming across what I want to say. It when you're doing it illegal, it puts a bad taste in people's mouth, and you know and I enjoy hunting, and I want to be able to do it for as long as I can, and when I'm allowed to. So you know I don't I don't agree with it.
Well, I mean, I pretty much will. I'll share my side, but I pretty much agree. I do agree with everything you just said. Um, my thoughts on it. I've always had a soft spot for a portion of poaching. I know that kind of sounds bad, but what I mean by that is I do believe that there's families out there that don't necessarily know when their next meal's coming. I've known families that actually that don't know when their next meal's coming and have went out and literally got a deer or an elk so they had something to eat for the winter. And I have a little bit of a soft spot for that side of it. it I mean, I don't know. It, I feel like, but I guess this is where I'm gonna judge on it a little bit. Is I feel like that is starting to become less and less of a thing. I feel like most people can scrounge up the money. And at the end of the day, your tags and licensing is not that expensive for what you get in meat. I mean, you can, if you get an elk for your license and tags, you can eat on that elk with a family for a whole year You go to the grocery store and you spend that same amount of money, you're going to eat for a week, maybe two. So you're telling me that you can't afford, every state is a little bit different. So I don't want to put a hard number on it, but I feel like it could afford a tag to do the right thing. And people that poach, I wish that they would look at it as more of a duty. I don't know if patriotic duty is the right word, but maybe a conservation duty, because every dollar that you put toward conservation helps protect conservation, so we can all, as a collective, hunt, keep hunting. I mean, we're getting attacked every day by traditional non-hunters, and and I mean, I just, the one thing that helps us stay strong as a group is the fact that we pay for all this through all the fees and everything. And as much as it sucks sometimes, that money speaks louder than words, and that's why we've been able to keep our rights this long. And so I feel like every time a poacher poaches, that affects that strength. And so I really don't like poaching for that reason. And I mean, I think it's unfair for the guy that pays for his tag, doesn't get the animal that he could have got or she could have got, but was poached the night before from somebody that didn't pay tribute. The other thing is, and I've seen and heard of stories. Uh, Everything kind of shifts. Like, um, most car thieves don't start out stealing cars. They start out by stealing a candy bar. And poaching, you know, you start poaching and you're somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, you poach or whatever. But then later on that starts shifting. Well, you know what? Farmer Frank, he always has a herd of elk in his field. I'm going to start trespassing and poaching on top of it. So, your moral compass just starts shifting toward that, going down that bad road. And I mean, I don't know where that was going, but I just think that if you're a poacher, like, I mean, you're just doing such a disservice to traditional hunters. You're going down that moral bad road that is going to get you in trouble and get you caught one day. And like I said, I mean, you pay the fee for the elk that could potentially get you. You do all the right things. That elk, that deer, it'll feed you for a lot longer than going to the grocery store and paying that same amount of money. And so, I mean, if you're willing to poach, you obviously like hunting. You might not like hunting in all the legal ways, but you obviously like hunting. So do your part. Do your conservational duty and just do the right thing. And that's kind of my in-depth thoughts of it, I guess.
So, so cut. I don't mean to really cut you off too much.
No, I'm open for some questions.
Well, no, I just was going to share a story. Um, so growing up there in Idaho, there we had a couple friends, and so like we would hunt my house. We had kind of permission to hunt kind of this top part of this little ravine, or it's a good sized ravine, but the ravine part of it we didn't have permission to hunt. But it wasn't that big of a property that we could. And it was also can only be hunted like a time of day, meaning like the deer were only going to be out there in the morning and the evenings. That because it was a big field, that's where they'd come out to eat. And so I had a buddy over once, spent the night. We got up and hunted down by my house, and didn't didn't see anything we wanted to shoot. So we wanted to go back over to a place where he had permission to hunt. And my mom was driving us across the top. Is it Carabel? Is that
Yeah,
the one that went across the top up there?
I believe so.
And we're driving along, and there's all those farming fields up there, and we look over. We get halfway between our houses, and we look over, and there's a buck just standing in one of the fields. Like we're talking a big sign that says "No hunting, no trespassing," and it was the buck. He was midday. I kind of thought it was a decoy at first, but he's standing there broadside. We just got out and started looking at it, and we didn't. Did we have? I don't know if we had binoculars or what, but my mom for some reason picked up the gun and looking through the scope at it, and she's like looking over at it. She's like, "Man, I can see why people poach." Like she's like she had the crosshairs right where it needed to be, and all it was is one of those things that like she's like, "Yeah, we could get in there and." Like I said, the deer wasn't even 50 yards off the road. So, like kind of almost the middle of nowhere. Like, we could have pulled it off, but it was just funny. Like my mom's just, I can see why people poach.
Yeah, well, I mean, I get it too. I mean, yeah, I same area actually. Same area, same almost same situation. I'm not gonna say names or anything, but um I was with a buddy, and you telling that story made me think of this. It was like it was almost past shooting light. Like it was starting to get really dark, but there was this nice buck on this piece of land. I know it was private, and and we pull up and we look at it, and I had my gun out. I wanted to shoot or whatever. But I was just looking at it, and the friend that I was with was like, "Go ahead and shoot it, man. This is my family's property." And I'm like, "Are you sure?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm sure." And he had his gun up too. And I was like, "Are you sure?" And he's like, "Yeah, just shoot it. It's my family's property. I'm telling you." And I didn't believe him, man. I didn't believe him, and I hesitated. Long story short, he ended up shooting it. We had tags and everything, but I mean, I guess the point of that story is like I just wasn't sure, and I was like, I don't want to get in trouble here, and I hesitated too long. I mean, I wasn't expecting him to shoot. Like he kind of gave me that option to shoot, but I just didn't believe him that it was his family's property. And I mean, he shot it. We threw it in the back of the truck, and I mean everything seemed normal, but I was nervous. I was like, I don't know about all this, man. So, but it was kind of the same situation. I wanted to too. It was a nice buck. I feel like that's the hardest thing is I have like a handful of stories where I hesitated because I wasn't sure if I was 100% legal or not, and I missed out on some big bucks because of it. It's kind of kick myself in the butt on some of them because some of them I could have just shot and got my animal, but I hesitated just long enough.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I guess that's kind of the luck of the draw on that. I mean, outside of poaching, like I've always been one of those people that just wanted to make sure I was doing it 100% correct.
Well, like,
You know,
yeah, it's like one of those things too. Like you want to be correct because even, I mean, like doing it correct, and you don't want to get in trouble and like losing that opportunity to hunt in the future. Like you might have to, there's be a waiting period. And if and if you are malicious and you are doing it with the wrong attitude, you're going to lose your hunting license for X amount of years. You're going to lose I think it's your gun, your truck, all your hunting gear that's in your truck or at your hunting camp. Like, then you lose X amount of years of being on probation until you can hunt again. And then you got to buy all that stuff back that you lost. And so really in the end of the day, you're right. Like you want to make sure you're doing it legal. So that way it doesn't come back to get you.
Yeah. I'm not saying names again, but I actually know a couple guys that shot at the decoys and got busted.
Yeah. Huh.
Lost their gun. You know them, but um lost their gun and truck, and I can't remember if they lost their truck actually, but I know they lost their gun for a few years and lost their privilege to hunt for just as long or longer. So, and I never wanted to be part of that, man. I was like, I was always way too nervous. I remember there was this other time I knew this was private land that we didn't have permission to hunt, but and I was with a couple buddies, but and we didn't like point our gun at it or nothing. But I was pretty sure that I saw one of those decoys, or a group of us saw one of those decoys, and we just like were staring at it for a long time, going, "Oh man," But I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's a decoy, guys. We better not shoot at it. So it's tempting though, man. Even I mean,
Well, yeah, no, like that was like my mom, she like, that was she had tags growing up. She had a couple, like one or two deer tags as a teenager and stuff. And, but she's like, that was the first time in my whole life I ever had the crosshairs on a buck. And like I said, we almost thought it was a decoy because it was in this big field, like, no trees around it or nothing, just right off the road, a little bit off the road, but it ended up walking away. We watched it long enough to walk away. But like, it was just, my mom was like, oh, first time I ever had crosshairs on a buck.
yeah, yeah.
But
It's hard, man. It's hard. It's hard to. I mean, I don't know. I guess I can understand why some people find themselves in trouble that way, because like your mom, or in a few situations that I've been in, like you want to pull the trigger so bad, but you kind of know better.
right,
And some people don't have that filter of knowing better, so
right.
they tend to make all the wrong decisions. But uh yeah, man, I don't know. I think at the end of the day, I mean, the whole point of the posting was oh, you found a little bit of stats on, you want to there's like,
Oh,
what'd you say, like 1,000 or 1,200 or something?
in this 2020 season of hunt, or the year of 2020 in Utah, um, the statistics that I got said that there was a total of 1,056 animals were killed illegally in the state of Utah.
Yeah, that's sad, man. I mean, that could have been 1,056 hunters that had an opportunity at that paid the fee to be able to.
Right. Well, it says so that, and then it says the combined. So, well, I guess it was 2,000. So with the combined numbers from say the combined value of wildlife illegally killed, the combined value of wildlife illegally killed in 2020 was more than $379,000, which is, kind of interesting. I'm sure that's like tags and all that too. But
Yeah, I'm sure that figure. I mean, as sad as it is, that figure probably is like their accepted. I don't know how to say it. Like, clothing store or any kind of store, they kind of figure in with how much they charge for the products. They kind of figure
Right.
in that like 3.5% is going to be lost to theft. So I'm sure that all the states probably kind of figure that so much of their wildlife is going to be lost to poaching, which kind of sucks though. I mean, like I said, I mean, I in today's world, I don't know why you would do it. I think there was a time where it kind of made sense for a poor family, or that needed the meat, that literally just wanted the meat. Um I could sympathize with that, but in today's world, and I just it's like you're gonna spend more money going to the grocery store for 2 weeks of protein than you would just paying for your tag and licensing, you know.
Right.
And I mean, I don't know. I feel like that's the most important thing is, I mean, just paying your fee, because it helps. I mean, every dollar you know that we pay for goes into conservation. Whether I know sometimes we don't always agree with the moves that are fish and game, parks and wildlife, whatever you want to call it, make necessarily toward conservation, but at the same time, I think we're all just trying to do the best we can and try to keep these herds, or not just herds, but all of our wildlife strong and thriving. And I just kind of feel like poaching is just cheating the system, and it just, I mean, it affects more than just you know one person poaching. I could see where somebody that's a poacher says, I'm just trying to get my one elk or whatever, and but there's 1,056 other, or 55 other people just like you. Like, it's not just you that is affecting the ecosystem in that situation. There's a lot of other people that might be thinking the same thing you are and doing it illegal. And every person that does that, you affect so many other people. You take away other people that are doing the right thing. You take away their chances. I mean, it just kind of snowballs into, I mean, I feel like we kind of are going down rabbit holes, but you could really go down the rabbit hole with all this stuff. And at the end of the day, like I said, I mean, there's and you know what, if you get caught, you're gonna get caught. That's the other thing too. If you get caught, you talked about taking the vehicle and the gun away, but also the financial side of it. You're gonna pay 10 times more. You're gonna basically pay what they figured that animal would cost to replace, and I mean, whatever they feel like. You're gonna pay so much more than just paying for your tag. And like, it's just not worth it in the end. It just doesn't make any sense in the end. And I just feel, I mean, I think we all kind of mess up once in a while and maybe make the wrong move, or, you know, hunting the wrong unit at the wrong time. But, uh,
Yep.
but, at the same time, uh, I mean, I feel like you got to pay your fee. And like I said, I mean, if you really break it down, you're trying to save a few bucks on meat by poaching and not getting your tags. You're trying to save a few bucks there, but like, if you got caught, you'd pay so much more than what the tags would cost. You'd lose your gun, you'd lose your vehicle. Like, I mean, which one makes more sense? Just paying the however much it is in your state to hunt your deer or elk or whatever other big game that you're after, it just doesn't financially, it doesn't make sense. I mean, go ask a CPA if it makes sense to poach for an animal. I bet they tell you that it'd be stupid.
Right.
I mean, for the the risk to reward just doesn't make sense.
Right.
And yeah, I don't know. I think that's all I got for poaching, man.
That's probably good. I mean, we're about an hour of conversation topics.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Man, we that's amazing. I thought maybe we were like 30 minutes in or something. I was like, I don't know if we got any more content to go over tonight.
Yeah, no, we were at 30 minutes about 30 minutes ago.
What would we do without your math?
I don't know. I should just shut it down one day and just see how far we take it.
Yeah. Have a 3-hour podcast.
Right.
I don't know if we could do that. I don't know if we could pull that one off, but obviously we're pretty good at doing an hour-long podcast. That's amazing.
Yeah. But yeah, so
if you don't have no, if you don't have nothing else to say, man, just go ahead and get us out of here or finish off with final thoughts or whatever you got.
Yeah, no, I got nothing really. I just was going to say thanks for listening to us talking about Colorado turkey and first and second draw dates for our chance draws in Colorado, and discussing, I guess, the new H.A.M.S hunts here in Utah. Hit the likes, subscribe, tell a friend, tell a buddy. We would appreciate it.
Yeah. I do have a finishing thought. Especially if you're listening this long, one thing that I'm noticing this time of year. So obviously me and Joe, we haven't been doing this podcast for an entire year yet, but I'm noticing that this time of year, it's kind of hard to come up with some topics. So we're doing our best, guys. And with that said, just really enjoy you guys taking the time out to listen to us. Cause yeah, I know that I've been kind of struggling on content as far as trying to come up with good content to talk about. And I don't know. I don't know why I'm throwing all that out, but I just appreciate you guys listening and just kind of, yeah, it's been kind of difficult to have that natural content. Usually during the season, it's like, oh, let's talk about our last weekend or whatever. It's just kind of a little easier when we're actually hunting and doing stuff. And this time of year, it's kind of a slow point in the outdoors game. So just really appreciate you guys still listening to us and giving us your time. So Joe, with that said, go ahead and finish off getting us out of here.
Thanks again, and we'll talk to you guys in a week. Have a good one.
Later.